The metallic shriek of a heavy door echoes. You listen as rock scrapes rock, the sound of the locking bar falling into place. It is a sound of utter finality. Imagine yourself in Ctesiphon, the 5th century core of the Sasanian dynasty. That single sound, the sealing of the bar, marks the start of our investigation into the terror Persian princesses felt on their wedding night. The groom is not the source of this fear. The dread comes from the oppressive quiet that is about to descend. The air is cloying, dense with the smells of lamp oil, expensive fabrics, and myrrh. Your royal title carries more weight than your given name. As you wait in this suffocating luxury, your palms are cold. Hidden in your hand, you clutch a small, smooth turquoise amulet. This piece of stone is your only connection to yourself. You understand that the man entering the chamber is almost certainly a close relative. He could be your brother, your uncle, or even a cousin. This practice is known as Khwedodah, or next of kin marriage. Officially, it is a tradition of the ruling class, designed to maintain the purity of the royal bloodline and prevent the fragmentation of family lands. However, this supposedly sacred obligation hid a sinister system of power. What was the real reason for this seclusion? And what was the fate of brides who were judged to be inadequate? In the stillness of this first night, the tapestries lining the walls show grand hunts and military conquests. They do not depict this moment. This is not a celebration of union. It is a test. But who exactly is conducting the evaluation? If you enjoy these dark histories, leave a like and subscribe and comment below where you're listening from. And now, back to the story. The lock is not secured with a metal key, but with a wax seal applied by a priest. The groom, your brother, is merely a shadow in the chamber, performing a function of the state. He is not the one in control. The true power lies in the silence and the unseen observation. This wedding night is a test, a cold-blooded evaluation of your loyalty, your purity, and your ultimate usefulness. The dawn offers no comfort or freedom. Instead, it ushers in 2 individuals cloaked in gray habits. Their faces are obscured by shadows. These are the Magi, the guardians of the sacred rites. They no longer use your name. She is referred to only as the vessel. Her personhood is the initial casualty. They strip her of the opulent silks and precious gems from the wedding, replacing them with a simple coarse linen shift. The cold floor stings her bare feet as she is led away from the royal chambers. This is the beginning of the descent. Her escorts do not lead her to the royal court or the throne room. Instead, they force her to descend deep into the substructures of the palace. The air becomes colder, filled with the scent of old dust and dried herbs. The torchlight barely illuminates the high, vaulted ceilings. This is the place where state policy and religious doctrine merge. Her hand remains tightly closed. The turquoise amulet from the night before is still concealed, its smooth surface a tiny point of rebellion. She avoids the gaze of the priests. Instead, she studies the walls, focusing on the ancient legal codes carved into the stone. Her mind traces the patterns, committing the path to memory. Her defiance is her silence. Her memory is her weapon. They move past a corridor of heavy wooden doors, each one sealed with the same priestly wax. From one, there is only silence. From another, she hears the muffled sound of weeping. What is happening behind those sealed doors? They halt at the final doorway in the corridor. It reveals a stark, empty room, the center of which is occupied by a large ritual basin. This is not a place of physical torture. There are no chains. It is, instead, a place designed for spiritual correction. One priest begins to speak, his voice thin and brittle, like rustling leaves. He explains that he is offering her a path to divine mercy. She has been given the honor of the sacred Khwedodah. Now, she must complete the ritual of purification. She must formally renounce her former life, her identity, and all of her personal thoughts. The cost of her new position is straightforward. She must forfeit everything she ever was. She is required to validate the act, bless the union, and in doing so, annihilate her own self. A vessel that refuses to be filled, however, is a danger. The gray-robed Magi stands beside the empty basin. His voice is monotonous, completely lacking in human warmth. The terms are stated clearly. You have been joined to the divine blood. This is a great privilege. Now, you must become a vessel for it. You will renounce the insignificance of your past. You will affirm the sacred rite. You will be cleansed of all personal loyalties. He gestures toward the basin. Speak the affirmation. Receive the blessing. Your life as a daughter of the King of Kings is contingent on it. This is the true reason. The wedding was just the tool. This room is the purpose. The Sasanian state was founded on a fragile divine ideology. Khwedodah was never just about protecting land. It was the constant living demonstration of the elite's fundamental separation from common humanity. It was their proof of a divine right to rule. A princess was a political tool, but her personal conviction was a matter of national security. The fear was never about the wedding night itself. The fear was about this room. The fear was about failing the test that followed. The Magi extends his palm, expecting her to release the turquoise amulet, the final link to her individual identity, into the empty basin. She glances down at the small stone. She meets the priest's gaze, and her voice is sharp and cold. The stone is not the impurity. These are the only words she utters. The soft pressure begins. The priest attempts to reason with her, speaking of her duty, of the sacred fire, and of the dangers of heresy. Her silence is his only reply. He eventually leaves. The heavy bar falls back into place. The response is methodical. The escalation begins with deprivation. They remove the lamps, plunging the cell into a dim, gray half-light. The only ventilation comes from a small slit high in the stone wall. Her rations of bread and water are replaced with a meager, sour porridge, and then, even less. The luxury of the bridal suite is a faint, mocking memory. There is only the cold stone and the hunger. The goal is to dismantle her physical strength, and by doing so, shatter the mind it contains. They believed isolation would break her spirit. They failed to realize she had always been alone. An unknown amount of time, days, perhaps weeks, drifts by. The silence becomes total. The priests stop visiting. The noises from the corridor have ceased. There are no more whispers, no more sounds of weeping. There is only the cold, damp air. This is the final stage of the evaluation. Erasure through silence. The void is engineered to create terror, to make her break down, to have her clawing at the door and pleading for the simple mercy of compliance. But, unintentionally, the Sasanian court itself had prepared her for this ordeal. The countless hours of inflexible ritual, the steel-like discipline of maintaining perfect posture, the requirement for flawless, silent composure. This training was intended to be a harness to control her. But now, she transforms it. It becomes her defense. The biting cold, the gnawing hunger, the crushing silence. She endures them as just different forms of the rigid etiquette she has known her entire life. She remains seated upright, her back against the cold stone. She does not cry, she does not shout. She clutches the turquoise amulet. Her refusal is not a single decision, but a constant, unwavering state of existence. She has provided her answer. The institution has processed it. The penalty for her refusal is now absolute. It is not a public execution. That is too visible, too quick. The price is to be erased, to be declared spiritually null and void. The system did not permit heresy to exist within the royal bloodline. It was isolated, it was starved, and then the records were cleansed. The priests had one last, merciful solution for a member of the pure-blooded elite who refused to comply. The sound of the bar is different this time. Not the heavy thud of stone, but the scrape of wood being moved. The door opens. She is physically weak, her body stiff from the cold, but her eyes are sharp. The gray-robed Magi is in the doorway, flanked by 2 guards. This is the conclusion of the test. She has failed. They do not take her back up toward the light and the air. They guide her even deeper into the earth. The corridor here is tighter, the stone unfinished, smelling of damp soil and saltpeter. They are now in the deepest foundations, far below the archives and the state treasuries. They pause before a low-ceilinged arch. The lintel is a dark, iron-veined basalt. And then, she spots it. A faint etching in the stone by the door, almost invisible in the poor light. It is a small, rough circle with another circle inside, a simple, stylized eye. It is the precise form of the amulet she has clutched in her hand for all this time. She looks at the Magi. He is watching her. He saw the amulet. He recognized it. This is not a threat. It is a message, a secret ledger left by the women who came this way before. As the guards urge her forward, she raises her hand for just a moment. Her fingers press the cold turquoise amulet against the cold, carved eye in the stone. It is a silent ritual, a passing of information. I see you. I was here. This specific act is not documented in any official history. But excavations at Sasanian holy sites, like the fire temple at Takht i Soliman, have uncovered foundations built upon older foundations. They have found ritual chambers, basins for purification, and sealed-off repositories deep underground. These were the junction points where the sacred met the administrative, places where divine purity was processed and cataloged like wheat. But what were these hidden rooms truly holding? The chamber past the archway is no crypt. It is a bureau. The space is arid, cold, and meticulously arranged. By the light of a single oil lamp, an administrator sits at a small desk. He is not a holy man, he is a functionary. The walls are lined with deep, narrow shelving. They do not hold sacred scrolls. They hold neat rows of small clay tablets and wooden tags, all marked with wax seals. The profound, hidden secret of the state was never a mystical concept. It was a bureaucratic process. The Magi gives a signal. The scribe selects a fresh, damp clay tablet. He doesn't need to ask for her name. He already has it on a list, along with her full lineage, her dowry, and the date of her marriage. This was the why. This was the true function of the test. The royal daughters who resisted, who demonstrated too much self, too much connection to the world, or too much defiance, were not killed in a public manner. They were nullified. The state declared them spiritually non-existent. Their names were physically removed from the family trees and historical records. Their dowries and properties were reabsorbed. The Khwedodah was retroactively dissolved, not as a failed marriage, but as a simple error in the ledger. They were purged from the bureaucracy, their existence deleted as if it never happened. The terror of the wedding night was, in reality, the terror of this chamber. It was the fear of being reduced to a hardened piece of clay, filed away in the dark. The mercy was that no one would ever know she had defied the state. She would simply be recorded as missing. The system demanded a perfect silent erasure, but the stone remembers. The scribe does not use ink. He uses a stylus to press cuneiform characters into the small, damp tablet. This tablet is then fired in a small kiln, transforming her non-existence into a permanent, baked clay record. It is filed on a dark shelf, indistinguishable from hundreds of others. The Magi nods. It is a simple administrative gesture. The princess is led from the scribe's office to another, smaller cell. This one is final. The door is sealed, not with wax, but with a heavy wooden bar. Above, in the world of light, the true erasure begins. It is an act of omission, not aggression. In the grand scrolls of the royal genealogy, the ink is simply withheld. A blank space is left where her name should have been. The next time a court historian copies the scroll, that blank space will be closed up, as if the thread of her life was never woven. Her dowry is absorbed by the treasury. Her lands are given to another. Her apartments are assigned to a distant cousin. Her entire existence is now just a logistical error that has been rectified. The system has removed her without a trace. The only ghosts are rumors, not evidence. Years later, a handmaiden might speak of a cold room and a bride who was unfit. A guard, drunk in a tavern, might mumble about a basalt doorframe deep beneath the palace and the women who walked past it but never out. A merchant in a faraway province might send a confused letter, noting that a planned trade alliance marriage is no longer possible, as the bride is unavailable. These are not testimonies. They are like smoke on a cold day. The fear of the wedding night was never about the night itself. Let us reconsider the sound from the beginning. The groan of the heavy door, the scraping of stone as the bar drops. We see it clearly now. It was not the sound of a newlywed's chamber being secured. It was the sound of a records room being locked. It was the final sound of a life being categorized and stored. The grinding of rock on rock was the noise of a name being scoured from the pages of history, leaving the surface smooth, cold, and empty. Just like the turquoise amulet, now buried with her in the silent earth. Subscribe, hit the bell, and like, How many names can one stone wall truly hold?